that's a good
So you
point.
predict the next disaster, basically, and build off of that.
Yeah, maybe that's just inventing some sort of scenario, which is the mechanism for where they go up.
Great.
Great idea. Okay, good. Thanks.
Thank you. Fantastic.
All right, I got a little bit of confession for you guys. All of those ideas you're working on were actually based on, I took them from a past promotion that worked in the past. Promotion that I knew was a big success from those time periods. And from there I tried to pull out a simulation of what the copywriter started at that time. So now I'm going to show you where I pulled research doc number 1 about the oil and gas royalty companies. And I'll hand these out. Secret, $72,000 per month, $72,780 per month. Maine's income stream found inside President Obama's tax returns. Did you know that according to most recent tax filings, U.S. President Barack Obama collects an average of $72,780 per month in personal income, all thanks to this little-known income stream. And here's the best part. Regular Americans are now cashing in this secret as well. So if you take this and start comparing it to what I gave you, you'll find some interesting things. Basically, the copywriter kind of pulled out the idea of royalties. And if you keep reading the promotion, and you can get a copy of this if you'd like. If it's not in your flight file, just email me. The fact that President Obama was actually making a lot of money from his book royalties, and that's what this income stream is, and how you can get something similar to what Obama got with investing in resource royalty companies, being all resource companies. So you can see it's kind of a small thing that in there that they were able to take and pull out and make a big idea. It's not, you know, all the stuff about the royalties and what they are. I mean, they just started out with like, what's a royalty? Who's making a lot of money from royalties? And it turns out that President Obama is from his books.
So let me point out a couple things before we move on here. Number one, the presidential story that's not being told is always a hot topic to center your promotion around. The president, if you go back to what Aaron said earlier, if you look at what happens on the Drudge Report as a way to gauge what Grandpa Kurt is hearing about in the world, how many times can you reload the Drudge Report right in the next week and see something about Trump at the top of the Drudge Report? How many times does it happen? It's going to be like every day. Every day, Trump doing something is at the top of the Drudge Report. At the time, if you could look at it in the research document, right? So clue number 1 was it's 2012, 2013 in that research document. What's on the top of the Drudge in 2012, 2013? Obama. Every day Obama's doing something different.
Some sort of conspiracy about Obama for the most part. That was where when the birth certificate was going on, and a lot of our audience had very uncomfortable anxieties about who President Obama really was.
So if you can find the presidential story that's not being told, that is something that's always top of mind for Grandpa Kurt. Always top of mind. So here you've got essentially the Obama story that they haven't been hearing about on the Drudge Report. So you get something top of mind that they're generally interested in right away. Second thing just to point out about this idea is that you have an inherent profit promise right there in the idea. Right? So they're saying that Obama collects an average of more than $72,000 per month using this income stream. So that's an indirect promise to the reader. If Obama's doing it, I'm going to show you how to do it. So number 1, just to recap, you've got the presidential story that's not being told. That's always a great place to start for your ideas. Number 2, you've got the Mr. Wonderful idea of how's that going to make me money in there. And number 3, you've got social proof right there in the idea that other people outside of just the president are doing this to make money as well.
How do you tie book royalties to the oil company?
You have to read the promotion, but they do it pretty cleverly. And they talk about how that there's a secret to making money that's been around. You can make money from royalties from books. You can write a song.
Okay, and then they just
You,
go
like the
into
guy wrote
royalties
Happy,
for
Happy
whatever.
Birthday, and then they say there's another way you've never heard of before to get the same amount of money, so you don't have to write a book, you don't have to write a
Oh,
song.
man, that's awesome.
You know, I'm going to tell you what it is right now. It's just Maine's income stream. I think they got Maine's from the fact that, like, that was a city in Germany where they invented the printing press.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So here, again, we're looking, I want to put a point on this because it's very important. You got 3 steps to finding your idea. We talked about them last week. Number 1 is your ordinary idea. You all had the same ordinary idea to work with here, which is that research document number 1. That was the same ordinary idea, which a couple of you said simply was investing in dividend-paying oil companies. That's the ordinary, right? Then you've got the extraordinary, which is step 2. Then you have the expression of the extraordinary, which is what you see in front of you in the headline complex. What you're not seeing in this particular one is how a writer could have pitched that verbally as an extraordinary idea. So you're seeing the start, step 1, which is ordinary, and you're seeing the finished, which is this, the expression of the extraordinary, right? So if I were standing up here and if I had that idea and I had to fill in that middle gap of the just talk about the extraordinary idea, I'd say something like, hey, I was doing a bunch of research, and did you know that Obama's making $72,000 a month? And I know this for certain because I found it inside of his tax documents. And I also found that everyday Americans can do the same thing he's doing to tap into this Maine's income secret that I'm calling it, to earn thousands of dollars every single month. Would you be interested in learning more? Right? That would be the pitch of that idea. The expression of that is what you see right there in front of you. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands. Ordinary, extraordinary can just be talking about it. Expression of the extraordinary is your headline complex, which can work out in many different ways. Scott?
Does the extraordinary have to come after the ordinary?
As far as how you actually create it,
Yeah.
we'll get into that in like a couple weeks. We talk about like a technique for creating ideas. For the most part, no, it's not. There's not a methodical process, unfortunately. Otherwise, we'd just be doing that all day long. Though we're going to try to show you some techniques you can try to do it. But you should be able to pitch it that way, is our point. Meaning you should know what the ordinary idea is, and then know what the extraordinary idea is, and know what the expression of the extraordinary is, and know what bucket it fits in. It rarely happens where someone is just like, all right, I'm going to start with the ordinary idea, and that's like kind of like, it reminds me of like the old like Steve Martin bit on Saturday Night Live. Like his bit was like, how do you get $1 million? That was like how he started his like his joke. Well, first you start with $1 million. I mean, dude, like, it's not that easy. If it was, we would be doing this. All right, next research doc number 2, which was about the biotech. And I'll just read you the headline. God's power to grant eternal life, stolen by stem cell scientists in California. Heaven's been robbed. With the flip of a switch, doctors can now make the human body heal and regenerate itself quickly, painlessly, naturally. Imagine what your life would be like, how much money you could earn if you could become immortal. See for yourself. The video clip below proves what was once thought to be impossible is now impossible. And to read this promotion that really pushed down on that hard emotional button about human beings possibly tapping into power that should have been, left up to God or playing God. And at the time this promotion came out, there were a lot of conflicts going on in the Middle East, Benghazi, and some of the food riots, and people were very anxious about religious tensions in the world based on that.
I'm sure this works, but is immortal believable?
People bought it.
$10 million worth of believable.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was going to actually bring this up later, but I'll bring it up now. And it's in the book, actually. It's either in the book or it's in the Eugene Schwartz speech. That another way to think about big ideas. Okay. If you look at like, I don't have my easel, so you just have to kind of picture it. Think of like a circle. Okay. And in the middle, put a dot, and that's the prospect. It's the middle, and then around him is a circle. What you could say are like his public beliefs. The things if you asked him, like, Joe, what do you really believe? And he's completely sober, and it's like he's in maybe a professional setting. What he'll tell you is what his public beliefs are, okay? Around that circle is another circle. I don't know where it is because it's constantly changing, and we're looking at the collective circles of hundreds, thousands of people, maybe millions, best case scenario. That, I would say, is like the private beliefs, the beliefs that they're not going to share with anybody. You know, maybe if they have a few beers and you really dig into it, or if they find someone that they kind of trust, they'll kind of share the things. And where that limit of beliefs is probably a lot bigger than you might imagine. I mean, if you look at like all the shows and television about the supernatural, or about what Scott Bardelli was saying about. Scott Bardelli was telling me how he's really into like all these shows about ancient aliens. And you know, whether or not he like, I'm not saying anything like Scott like really believes in them or not, like, but he's at least open-minded enough to like watch the show, so he doesn't completely dismiss it. So I don't know where that limit of belief is, but I think in a lot of cases we underestimate where it could be. People believe a lot of crazy shit, and
more importantly, they want to believe it.
They want to.
That's the thing. Like, that comes back to what Sean asked last week, which is about the penny stock stuff, right? Like, could you really, or is it really believable to turn $500, I can't remember what the figure is, into 8.2 million in 30 days? Whether or not it's believable doesn't really matter. Do they want to believe it? And they want to believe it.
Or even another way to look at it, do they believe it's possible, or even more importantly, are they just curious about it? Maybe they are skeptical, but they're not going to dismiss it outright either.
The immortal promise kind of reminds me of something I saw Frank Kern say. It's called a low self-esteem success chance, where if you promise them 10 million and they just hope to make 10% of that, if you can't be immortal, maybe you live 20 more years, but you